My early life growing up in Georgetown, I believe, was very significant because I straddled two centuries. I was born in the 1900s, 20th century, and went into the 20th century. I come off of the Shed Road district, Georgetown, and it was quite a very instructive neighborhood in the sense that the older folks really looked after you. Despite of the economic well-being, they helped you to grow. They help you with your manners, they help you with your homework, they help the parents. My mother was a single parent with 11 children. I was the 9th child. And growing up was excellent. Poor, simple means, but my mother was quite entrepreneurial. She worked at the hospital, and she made sure that we had things to eat and made sure we went to school. But my life, I will always remember my childhood. It is what I am and who I am because of my childhood. It had the village concept, which we don't particularly have today. And it has genuine concern for neighbors and giving, the giving people, helping others, being kind to strangers, ensuring that your children were well looked after. And the women in my time were quite vociferous in terms of wanting what they wanted for their children. In terms of, I remember once the women marched to get a school. It was quite dangerous, and the women actually marched. Well, the women were solid in our days. They're the ones that ran things, as my mother would say, because men went to sea. My father was a seaman, my brothers were seamen, but women made Cayman what it is. And I'm very surprised and disappointed in many ways that the women do not take, although they're very educated, they do not take the lead in politics and in decision making. The values my mother instilled with me: you have to be honest, you have to help people, stand up for yourself, don't let anybody influence you, don't keep a lot of company, because company can influence you. And all the other women, I had the neighbors, almost all the women in the neighborhood, all the people in the neighborhood were women. And they influenced, they always made sure we had our hair properly plait. Well, my mother couldn't plait, so my neighbors did that. And they always made sure that we did not do anything untoward. If they saw someplace, they took the liberty of saying, listen, I know your mom, no you don't, you're not here, so why not go home? And if you didn't go home, they would walk with you and take you home. So Cayman women, I think we don't honor them sufficiently because of all the things that they have done to help us who we are. We don't honor them sufficiently. My mother influenced me to become a politician because she liked politics. She went to all the meetings, and I remember looking up at her once. We were at a meeting, 10 years old. I was about 10, and I said, I'm going to be a politician, and she laughed at me. She never lived to see me become a politician. But being a politician is not the thing that I really want to think that made me. I think my life as a sports person and a teacher and a community activist is what has made me. Perchance I became a politician, but I became a teacher. My mother wanted me to be a teacher. My mother was influenced by the Jamaican doctors and nurses, and she said that she wanted me to go to college. And one time someone said, but Mother, you don't know that word. She said, no, I've never seen it. I don't know what it looks like. But you see those Jamaican doctors and nurses down there? They went there, and that's where I want my Lucille to go. So she fought hard for me to get a scholarship with all sorts of expletives and everything that she could use. She made sure that I became a teacher, and I became a good teacher. I moved the ranks of being a teacher of the deaf, a principal, an education officer, director of curriculum, and then I moved into the regular civil service and became a permanent secretary. But my teaching days, I'll never forget. The most time that I will always remember that influenced my life was in Cayman. I have never seen such children that were so good to teach. They were receptive, they had good manners, they listened, they learned, and they became professionals, a lot of them here, and they became entrepreneurs. So I'll always remember my best days and at Savannah Primary. Of course, I made a lot out of Georgetown because I went to Georgetown Primary when children did not wear shoes. And one of the things I tried hard to do was to influence them to wear shoes and proper uniform. And the teachers rebelled at me. But luckily for Mrs. Conley, who was my supervisor, she supported me. So, and also in my day as an education officer, I introduced a lot of things. I was the one who introduced computers in primary schools. I introduced musical instruments in primary schools, all sorts of things. And I sit back today, and that's why when people say, oh, she was a politician, that's not I was happy to be a politician, but I'm more happy for you to say she was a teacher, because I did a lot being a teacher. It was a woman who empowered me. We were around women. I grew up in the days of women, and they empowered me, and they always wanted me to be something. And I know women helped me to be what I am, and I said to myself one day, you know, what's the sense of living and have high status and you're not doing anything? So I involved myself in sports, and it was through netball that I think I made the greatest impact on women. When I look around and see them, they're so wealthy now, you know, and see where they are. The only thing they didn't take after me, they did not go into politics, which I'm disappointed in, that they did not go into politics. Because women should go into politics. What advice? Always remember that you, perchance, may become a mother, and you want to influence. I did not become a birth mother, but I raised a young man. But they must always remember that they as women must break that glass ceiling. And it's them that will help me before I die to see that the glass ceiling is broken, to see that they're in positions of authority, to see that they're politicians, to see that they're especially Caymanian women, that they're on the bench in the judiciary, that they are in charge in the civil service, that they are good mothers, they are good teachers, they are good influence in the society. Those are the things that women must be. But they must enjoy themselves too.